What's going on, guys? My name is Patrick Bacon and you're watching the one and only BaconsDrinks channel here on YouTube. And before I get into the video today, I just want to thank everyone for watching my last video. It was my first video on the channel and it did a lot better than I thought it would. It got way more views, likes, comments, etc. Thank you so much to everyone that supported me on that last video. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So we're going to stay with our Tropical Escape series as promised last time, and this will extend into next week. So I'll be doing more Tiki and tropical cocktails next week, but I think next week will be the last week. Spring is rapidly approaching down here in the south. It's super hot, so we're going to go into more cocktails with elderflower, juniper, fresh ingredients like cucumber, things like that. Kind of lighter, more spring type drinks. So just be prepared for that. But I've definitely enjoyed this series thus far, and I can't wait to continue it next week. Now, as far as today's concerned, we will be doing tropical cocktails, but they're kind of tropical and/or tiki adjacent. Both these cocktails today are very simple. They only have 3 ingredients apiece. I had some friends come to me and say, Patrick, I'm looking to get into making craft cocktails, but I don't know where to start. I don't have as many bottles and don't know how to make all the syrups, all that sort of thing. So I made these cocktails very accessible, especially any of my friends that are watching that want to get into this. These are some very easy to make cocktails that are easily accessible for the home bartender. So I figured I'd make this video for you guys. As far as you Tiki files, you're gonna have to wait till next week. We're gonna be bringing out some really cool Tiki drinks. If you haven't seen my last video, it's Trader Vic's Grog. I will be putting the link in the description, or be putting it on the end screen at the end of this video. It's a great Tiki drink, but it has a lot of ingredients. So I figured I would just keep it nice and simple today. So as you can see here, let's go ahead and get into making our cocktails today. We're gonna be making first what's called a Wray and Ting. This is one of my favorite go-to easy cocktails whenever I'm traveling or going over to a friend's house. And this is only a 3-ingredient cocktail. It's very easy. You can pick it up and take it with you. Or if you don't feel like bringing out the shaker or the blender or getting all fancy with all the ingredients, this is a super easy cocktail to make at home. This cocktail is called a Wray and Ting because that is exactly what's in it. As you can see, we have Wray and Nephew white overproof rum. A word to the wise about this particular rum: this is a Jamaican rum, and it's what people who are familiar with rum call a funk bomb. The funk is strong with this one. Jamaican rums, for people that don't know, have a very distinct funk in the rum. I think it's absolutely delicious. I think it tastes tropical, but it has to do with the way that it's fermented and the way that it's made. And it has a real strong, funky aroma and taste. The more the rum is aged, the less funk it has, and the less aged that it is, the more funk it has. So if you don't like that funk, just simply decrease the rum in the recipe or increase the ting in a bigger glass, however you want to do it. And one other thing I want to mention before we get into the cocktail is that if you don't like the original specs of a particular drink, you can always modify the drink to your own specifications. So just don't change any of the ingredients, but if it's too tart, up the sugar. If it's too sweet, up the citrus. If it's too rum forward, decrease the rum, so forth and so on. Don't give up on a drink if you don't like the way that you make it the first time. So just remember that. So let's go ahead, enough jabbering here. Let's go ahead and get into making the cocktail. So we're gonna do 1.5 ounces of Wray and Nephew Overproof white rum. So this is an easy cocktail. We're just gonna build this in the glass today. You just build it straight in the glass the old-fashioned way, like we used to do in college. And next we're gonna add just a little bit of Ting soda. So I'm kind of diverting from the original recipe here. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put ice cubes in it at this point and fill it up the rest of the way with Ting. Since I have pebble ice here, which is my favorite type of ice to use for tropical cocktails, you don't really want to pour liquid over pebble ice because the pebble ice melts too much. It'll make your drink very watery. So I'm actually going to add the Ting as is right here, about halfway up the glass, and then I'm going to fill up with my ice. So this is our Tiki, or excuse me, pebble ice from Sonic that I use for Tiki drinks. And this drink is just good. It's light, it's refreshing, it's very tropical. It is just, it's so good, especially if you like Jamaican rum, you like that nice Jamaican funk like I do. This is an incredible drink for you. All right, so I think that's about enough. I'm actually going to top with just a little bit more Ting. Like I said, I don't want too much dilution from this pebble ice. I want to keep it nice, crisp, cold. And I don't want it watery. I want the flavors to show through. You want a little bit of dilution, but not too much. And you really should use cubed ice for this. Like I said, I just prefer pebble ice in my tropical or tiki cocktails. All right, and our last ingredient here today is simply just a nice little slice of lime, okay? I actually prefer 2 slices of lime in mine, which I'm actually going to use today because this is my channel. And I will make the drinks how I want, but the original spec calls for just 1 wedge of lime, and what I like to do is I like to squeeze the lime into the drink and then just put the spent shell into the drink. Now, because I'm going to be drinking a little bit of this right now, I am going to do it again. Now, you got to think about it. The reason I do this is I put 2 in there for my own personal preference is because this is a very strong, funky rum. Now, a CY company that promoted this paired the Wray and Nephew with the Ting is because Ting is not only has a little bit of tartness, but it also has, it's a grapefruit soda, so it has the little bit of tartness of the grapefruit, but it's also very sweet. And that sweet, kind of slight tartness really balances out and cuts out a lot of the strength of the rum. And the way you can balance that out nice and easy is with a couple cuts of lime. So that's why I do it that way. I think the tartness of the lime really balances out the sweetness of this Ting Grapefruit Soda. So there you go, guys. That's it. That is the Wray and Ting. It's that simple. Rum, Ting soda, and lime. As simple as it gets. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's give it a taste and see how it is. I'm getting that lime, obviously, because it's right there on the aroma. There is no garnish to this, by the way. Man, that is good. It's just so light and refreshing. And actually with this, I put a good bit of Ting in there. That was almost about half a bottle. I can barely even taste this Wray and Nephew. I don't know if the Wray and Nephew has been sitting a while and it's lost some of its potency, but that is a very well balanced cocktail right there. I'm gonna get one more sip. That is great. So I'm getting a little bit of the funk now because when you pour it on top, sometimes it can layer. But yeah, I'm getting that delicious funkiness from this Wray and Nephew Overproof. I'm getting a little bit of a punch. I'm also getting the nice sweetness and tartness of that grapefruit soda. And of course, the tartness of the lemon here. I absolutely love lime juice. I put it in my water all the time. And that is just such a fresh cocktail. This is a very common cocktail that I use to entertain during like pool parties. It's very easy to make. People can make them themselves if they want to. It's very simple, and it's just a nice refresher. And like I said, if the rum's too strong for you, just simply decrease it to an ounce or even half an ounce. It's not that big of a deal. So that's it, guys. The Wray and Ting. All right, guys. For the next cocktail, we're going to be making the world famous Daquiri. This is easily one of my favorite cocktails of all time, just one of my favorite cocktails, period. It is absolutely delicious, and when made well, it is the perfect balance between rum, lime, and sugar. To me, it is the utmost example of perfection and simplicity when it comes to cocktails. It is just an all-around amazing tasting cocktail. It's almost criminal. It's almost unbelievable how good it tastes just using 3 simple ingredients, and it's fairly inexpensive to make. The Daquiri was invented in 1898, or supposedly invented in 1898, by an American mining engineer by the name of Jennings Cox. It was invented in, get this, the town of Daquiri. So you heard that right. The Daquiri was invented in the town of Daquiri. So log that in your brain and remember that for trivia night. The town of Daquiri, by the way, is located in Cuba, and this was just one of the many amazing cocktails that came out of Cuba during that time period. There's especially a lot of awesome ones that came out in the early 1900s. especially during Prohibition. So there's a fascinating history between Cuba, rum, and Prohibition, and once again, there's a lot of great cocktails that came out during that time period, and we will actually get into that in a later video as well. But as for now, let's go ahead and get into making the cocktail. So before I start making the actual cocktail, there's two things that I wanted to address. One is that the original spec calls for a white rum. Since I talk too much and I've already edited the first half of this video, we will not be able to try both of these rums today. But these are my two favorite rums to use in a daiquiri, or at least the original daiquiri recipe. I got Probitas here, and I also have Foursquare Extra Seco. These are absolutely delicious rums to use, but Foursquare, the Foursquare Probitas is my favorite as of right now. Now I mention this because the light rum was used in the original daiquiri recipe, but you don't have to use light rum. You can use any rum that you want. I use aged spirits in daiquiris all the time. As a matter of fact, that's what I usually do. A point of preference, if you are going to use aged spirits in a daiquiri, I would recommend using a Demerara sugar syrup. I find that it pairs well, or pairs better with aged spirits than a regular simple syrup, or what we're using today, which is organic cane sugar syrup. So I opt to use the cane sugar syrup because it just pairs so great with the white rum, and it offers just a more complex mouthfeel and just an overall more complexity to the drink than regular table sugar does, in my opinion. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into making the cocktail. So first, we're going to do 1 ounce of fresh squeezed lime juice. I will say this every video, always use fresh squeezed juices. Once you start using fresh squeezed juices, your life will be changed and you will never go back. So 1 ounce of lime juice there, and then next we're going to do a ½ ounce of cane sugar syrup. Now this is a 2-to-1 syrup. I will put the recipe in the description, don't worry. And I will be using a fat, what I call a fat ½ ounce of sugar syrup, which is going to be a little bit above ½ an ounce, because my limes are very tart today, and I'm doing it just for the sake of balance. There is our sugar syrup, and now we get to our rum. So we will be using Probitas today, which is my new favorite white rum. Now I'm only going to be doing 1.25 ounces of this rum because I should do some other shots and I will edit them into the video, but it is 47% alcohol. So it's not quite an overproof, but it's not 40% either like most white rums will be. So I'm going to use 1.25 ounces for everyone who's making the cocktail or following along. Use the 1.5 ounces that I'm going to put in the video description per request of a comment I had on last video. So from now on, I will be putting the drink recipes in the description. But we're going to do 1.25 ounces of that just for the sake of balance. But if you're using regular white rum, once again, use just the regular 1.5 ounces. All right, guys, so that's it for the body of the cocktail. Now all we have to do is shake. And yes, we do need to shake this cocktail. It is a little more labor intensive than the Wray and Ting. So you're going to need a cocktail shaker, and yes, we will be double straining it today. So you're going to need a Hawthorne strainer, and you're going to need, just a regular strainer. We do that to make sure there's no ice shards in the drink. It's not absolutely necessary, especially if you're just serving yourself, but it does go a long way when serving guests. So for ice today, we will not be using pebble ice, but we will be using ice cubes. I have these pretty large ice shards here. I don't know if you guys can see them. The reason we do this is because we're going to do what's called a coupe shake, because we will be serving the daiquiri in a coupe. That is what this glass is called right here. And this is very important because whenever you're serving a drink up in a coupe like this, it's absolutely imperative that we get the dilution perfect out of the tin, because once you pour it into the glass, you get what you get. It's over. So if it's too strong, it's going to taste too strong. If it's too watery, it's just going to taste too watery. Whereas in other cocktails that have ice, that you pour over ice or add ice to them later, you can be saved, so to speak, if the drink is too strong. If you don't shake long enough and you pour a drink over ice, the ice will slowly melt as you sip on the drink, and it will slowly become more balanced over time. when serving in a coupe, you get what you get. So you have to make sure the dilution is perfect right out of the tin. So just remember that. Since we are shaking with 2 ice cubes, 2 large ice cubes, we want to shake for about 20 to 30 seconds, and we want to be fairly aggressive with this because since these are bigger ice cubes, they will melt slower in the tin, and we do want to get that optimal level of dilution. And you can kind of hear when the ice shards or the ice cubes, you can kind of hear when they start to decrease in weight because the sound, the ice starts to make less noise. All right, that should be about enough. And tight seal we got there. So we do this. The reason we don't want any ice shards in there is not only for mouthfeel and texture, but if you have ice shards in the drink, those ice shards will melt later and it will make your drink or potentially make your drink too watery. So you want to make sure to strain those ice shards out, and it just makes the presentation look better and less sloppy. So there you have it, guys. The world famous Daquiri, perfection in a glass. Let's give it a taste. So there's no garnish, by the way, and the aroma smells absolutely delicious. I smell that lime and definitely that rum pretty strongly. And that's just about the perfect amount of dilution. That is an absolutely amazing cocktail. Like I said, I may be biased, but this is one of my favorite cocktails of all time. It is just delicious in every way. One other thing I do want to mention is that when you are serving guests, or even serving yourself, you can get in the habit, always put your coupe glasses in the refrigerator, in the freezer, and it will get this nice frost over the outside. The reason being is because the only temperature, the only chill that this drink has is from the ice in the tin, and that dissipates very quickly in a warm glass. So in order to make sure that the drink stays chilled for longer and it's a more enjoyable experience for everyone, especially your guests, you want to make sure to have an already chilled coupe. The reason I didn't have one for you guys today is because it does have this amazing frost on the outside. The only problem is when you're using the camera, you can't really see what the drink looks like, unfortunately. The frost covers the color up, and I want you guys to see what the ideal color looks like. Well, with that being said, there it is, guys, the world famous Daquiri. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a great time making it. Leave any feedback in the comments. The comments also get the algorithm going. I'm very active. And if you have any questions about any of the ingredients or how to make the cocktails, once again, leave them in the comments. That will really help me out a ton. If you like the video, be sure to leave a like. And if you want to see more of my content in the future, be sure to hit the subscribe button. With that being said, my name is Patrick Bacon from the BaconsDrinks channel, and I will see you guys next week so we can round out the last part of our Tropical Escape series. Have a great weekend, be safe, and I'll see you guys next time.